This was a horrifying moment as the railing crashed, almost taking out Jalen Hurts. Multiple fans falling, 8, 9 feet down onto the ground at FedEx Field. No one was seriously injured. A dispute has emerged as to whether or not medical attention was offered to anyone who fell at the scene. Multiple of the people who fell told Tim McManus of ESPN.com there was no such offer. They were just told, get the F off the field. I mean, what am I? It's like, it made me think of Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. I got thrown through a window. I mean, I got the railing. For what am I? I'm not trespassing. Your railing broke. I got thrown through a window. I mean, come on, you're going to arrest me? You're going to tell me to get out of here?
Right.
So, I said this yesterday, and I mentioned the website. This gives me flashbacks, obviously, to my former life of practicing law. And when you litigate, you're always dealing with worst-case scenarios that happen because of poor planning, because of negligence, because there was a failure to properly assess a situation and do the right thing. And then you have an expense on the back end because you've got to compensate people for how you've injured them because of your carelessness. And that process, people like to complain about lawyers all the time until they need one. That process is what forces companies, businesses, football teams, stadiums to make sure that, in a spot, and it does not take a PhD level engineering expert to say, oh, this is the spot where players come and go. Oh, people are going to probably be leaning on this railing. We should be sure that it doesn't do that. Let's not put hinges on that railing where fans may be leaning. I'm amazed it hasn't happened before, Chris, and I would bet that if you had access to emails and other records of the Washington football team and the operation of FedEx Field, I would bet there's an email somewhere where there's somebody saying, we may want to do something about those railings because they were, they almost went that day that the Cowboys fans were, or the Cowboys players were going to the tunnel. I just, spider sense tells me that Sunday was not the first day this was a potential issue.
Well, all right. I mean, the first thing is, that was scary and amazing. I mean, we're talking a foot away from hitting Jalen Hurts' left knee and left ankle and ruining the season for the Philadelphia Eagles. That is unbelievable how closely they, just avoided disaster here. I mean, this is almost see you later, starting quarterback done, and now, I know they're going to release the new Washington football team name here at some point in the future. It would have been the Washington Hurts team. That's what they would have. The Washington Jalen Hurts, because he would have owned the team. This is where I have, and I've been to the stadium a few times, and I'm not but Mike, this to me is where I'm bothered. That is not the normal stadium. That is, to me, I believe an extension from the original tunnel to add a few more seats close to the field because, we're not making enough billions. We need to add a few more seats here, premium seats, so we can get that.
They can't sell the ones they have.
Well, I know, but that they can sell those for a premium because they're close and they're there. That, to me, what jumped out to me is that was not, concrete enforced the same way the other side of the tunnel was. To me, it looked like, and I'd like to look again or find some pictures to have a different look, to where that was not the intended natural stadium. That was an add-on at some point after the creation to go, hey, we can jam a few more seats right here. Look, on the right, you could see that's a concrete, it's a different siding than the side of which the guys fall off, which you see better from the other angle when it's kind of the reverse shot angle. And that's what I would look at it to be like the email trail, or a little scary, or I'm a little scared if I'm a Washington, owner and Dan Snyder or somebody responsible for that, because that's a Lego set on the left, and on the right is the real stadium.
Well, and here's the other reality.
Look, there's no concrete there. Look at that.
Yeah.
Those are bleachers built after the stadium is built.
The reality is this. When something like that happens, there will be a presumption in the law that there's negligence baked into it, that this doesn't occur without someone screwing up. There's not going to be much that you have to prove other than I paid my ticket, I was in a place where I was supposed to be.
Right. Nobody told me I can't lean over.
Yeah.
Right.
And no signs saying no leaning or danger or anything like that.
Right.
I did everything that I was supposed to do. incident to the license that I purchased to be present in this venue on this day, and all of a sudden the railing went and I got injured. And you know, anybody that's ever been in a supposedly minor car accident, at least at the time, knows that by the next day you may feel a hell of a lot different than you did the day you were in that accident. These things can take some time to really settle in and cause the full effects. And whatever injuries happen, legitimate injuries, need to be fairly compensated. And that process, whatever it costs, whoever has to pay it, that's the incentive to make sure that in the future they properly secure the safety of the fans. Because if you're not going to do it because it's the right thing to do, or because you fail to have the imagination to realize where the hazards are, there's nothing like being held to account for it in the civil justice system that will force you to do it. That's why it's there. And that's why it's always the big money interests that huff and puff about the civil justice system. They don't want to be held accountable by some external mechanism. That's why you always hear the different cries of frivolous lawsuits and tort reform and that. It's the moneyed interests that don't want to be accountable for their misconduct. In this case, it's unavoidable. There is inevitable accountability for anybody who was injured by what happened, because that never should have happened. And Chris, it's a great point. Whatever they slapped together, it made me think of Super Bowl 45 when they were trying to slap together the temporary seating, and they failed to have enough seats to go along with the tickets at Cowboys Stadium. What a debacle that was. Right. There should be a higher standard. And this is a prime example. People say, oh, you hate the NFL. You always criticize the NFL. No, I hold the NFL to a very high standard. And anytime I see any behavior that falls short of it, I get pissed off.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I want the NFL and its teams to live up to the NFL Films mythology that they deliberately created for a generation of kids in the 70s, where they made us think that this is larger than life, that this is great, and everything about it is good and pure and just and American and yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Now you got to live up to it. We've all grown up, NFL. Now you got to live up to those ideas you put in our heads 50 years ago. And this is a prime example of their failure to live up to it. And I'll include the NFL in this, because the NFL's like, oh, we're investigating it. Well, maybe somebody should have gone there and looked at the stadium. Maybe the NFL's duties extend beyond cleaning up the mess and making sure the mess doesn't happen. Because we know anything WFT related, there's a chance it's a mess right now.
I know it's another thing on the list, certainly. Added to it, I know one of the guys that fell off, they even have they claim that the security guards said they could go over there and be in that area and do that too. So that's going to make things more confusing for the organization as well. But yeah, Mike, I know where you're coming from, and I know you're coming from a place of like you want the best for the NFL, and you expect them to execute things at a very high level. And I'm with you there too. Yeah, I grew up in the sport and got to see it all and love it, and I'm indebted to it for the rest of my life as far as the NFL. But yeah, I also sit here as a fan and know how great it can be and expect it to deliver all the time, and I'm going to hold it to that standard. And yeah, that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable for an organization that's $4 billion and a league that's worth tens of billions of dollars to have a Lego set for seats on the edge of a great stadium. It's just not. That's where it's not acceptable, in my opinion, and we'll see where this goes. But one more pain in the butt for the football team to deal with.
First of all, it's not a great stadium.
No, it's not.
It's the worst stadium in the NFL by far. It's a dump. The Eagles radio crew deliberately did not go there because the radio booth for the visiting team is horrible, and Merrill Reese, the play-by-play announcer, regards the entire place as a dump. So they called it off TV monitors.
I wish they'd go back to D.C. Jeez, go back to the
Here's what I wish. What I wish, right. And I want to use my words carefully here, because the owner of the team has shown a propensity to engage in litigation. These are not statements of facts. These are statements of opinion that I have developed in my 20-plus years of covering the NFL. Daniel Snyder is a poisonous, menacing presence to the National Football League, and the sooner that they get rid of him, the better off the entire NFL will be. I don't know what you're waiting for. Roger Goodell, John Mara, Robert Kraft, Jerry Jones, all the power brokers in the NFL. It is in your collective best interest to get rid of Daniel Snyder.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights. From NBC Sports.